a booking sheet with the full card for next month's Evolution pay-per-view reportedly leaked online this week. And I say reportedly because there's been no confirmation. I mean, certainly not from WWE, but there's been no confirmation from any source that I would consider to be reliable, verifying that this is in fact a real leak. So I say that just letting you know that for the time being, this should be taken as just pure rumor and speculation at this point. The only two matches that are confirmed for Evolution so far are Trish Stratus against Alexa Bliss and Lita against Mickie James. Those are not the matches that I would have liked to see for each woman. I've already talked about this in recent weeks, mixing in other names like Sasha and others. You could have had, bigger singles matches, I think, for them. Honestly, I think it would be better if they just merged the two matches together. Mickie is with Alexa anyway. And at least I think the idea of Trish Stratus and Lita teaming up together as tag team partners has some appeal to it. But anyway, these are the rest of the matches. These would be considered possible spoilers if this card turns out to be true. So if you don't want to know anything, and I will not mention what the Mae Young Classic finals are, but for everything else on here, if you want to avoid any potential spoilers, skip ahead 5 minutes. Just warning you now. Parts of this are already confirmed. Parts of this seem, pretty plausible. And there's a few parts that sound very suspect to me. So anyway, for example, Naomi against Melina is one of the matches listed on this card. Melina has rarely, if ever, even been mentioned since leaving WWE. I don't know what the deal is with her and Victoria and WWE, but it's like they don't even exist. And Victoria, it's interesting, is not listed anywhere on this rumored card. But Melina against Naomi just sounds very, very random to me. A four-way with Rhea Ripley, Ginny, Killer Kelly, and Dakota Kai. 4 women with zero exposure to the mainstream WWE audience, and barely even the NXT audience, which again is another red flag, although it would make sense if you got some of these women on the show because it's an all-women's show, and I could see them wanting to give some exposure to people at sort of the NXT level or the NXT UK level, of which I know Rhea Ripley is going to be part of that. The Riot Squad against Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Ivory. If this is the best that they could come up with for Sasha Banks for this big Evolution show, another match with the Riot Squad, only this time teaming with Ivory, then these people are idiots. Asuka is listed on here against Ember Moon. And this one I hope is true, because they had some great matches together in NXT. I think that could be really good. They have a Carmella talk show listed with members of the cast of the Netflix series Glow. You lost me at Carmella talk show. That sounds terrible. Alicia Fox and Kelly Kelly against the Iconics, against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, against Beth Phoenix and Natalya to crown new women's tag team champions. Women's tag team titles have been rumored for a while now, so it's no surprise if they are going to debut them. Evolution would be the place to do it. And who would I put them on? Again, not necessarily the 4 teams that I would have put in a match like that, but of those 4, honestly, I would put them on Mandy and Sonya. We'll have the finals of the Mae Young Classic, which I will not spoil for you. There is a 20-woman battle royal listed, with the winner facing Kairi Sane later in the show for the NXT Women's Championship, so that's 2 matches right there. Charlotte versus Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's title, and the main event listed on the card, Ronda Rousey defending her Raw Women's Championship against Nikki Bella, the longest reigning Divas champion of all time. So, I look at this card from top to bottom, and I just think it's an underwhelming card if it is legit. I mean, there's some good things on there, but there's just so many other appealing combinations of matches. You would think for a first-time ever show like this, they'd want to hit it out of the park. I'm not saying you have to give away every single big match, but, for example, if they were going to do a Fatal 4-Way to crown new women's tag team champions, if it were me, I would want to make that a very big deal. Because it's been many, 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 many years since they've had women's tag team titles in WWE. You have to go back to the days of the Jumping Bomb Angels. And the Jumping Bomb Angels were so awesome back then. I kind of wish, I'm sure they're just long retired by now, but it's too bad we can't get them on the show. But I would make this out to be a very big deal. If you're going to do it, you may as well go all in and make people think that this is just the biggest thing in the world, and everybody wants to be, the quote-unquote first women's tag team champions of the modern era in this company. Whatever that even means anymore. I keep hearing modern era, now I'm using it. So, if it were me, one of the many combinations of matches you could do, I just put this out there as an idea. What about this? Why not make it a 4-way match under elimination rules and have the teams as Sasha Banks and Bayley, since it's obvious that whatever they were thinking about doing, splitting them up and feuding, it's not happening now. Sasha and Bayley against Trish and Lita, against Alexa and Mickey, against the Bella Twins. Since the Bellas are still technically members of the SmackDown roster, that's where Nikki is listed anyway on .com if you look her up. So at least in that match you have some representation for the blue brand. But I think that's a big match. Those are well, 3 out of the 4 anyway, big teams. You don't have to like the Bellas, but, to a segment of the audience, they are, to see the Bellas wrestling for the women's tag team titles would be a big deal. And for the people who absolutely hate the Bella Twins, it would be great heat, right? So you'd have them in there, and especially if they make it all the way to the end with, Sasha and Bayley, or if it comes down to Trish and Lita against Sasha and Bayley. Just imagine the crowd. Now, they're going to be at the Nassau Coliseum, and as somebody who's been to the Nassau Coliseum many times before, I can tell you that crowd is going to be... It's going to be very hit or miss. I don't know how the crowd is going to be that night. Maybe first time ever. Maybe they'll be really excited. I was very surprised when I found out they were going there. Maybe they just thought it would be an easy way to fill the building, keeping it in the New York market. And they didn't want to go back to Barclays so soon after SummerSlam. But the Nassau Coliseum is notorious for having horrible crowds. And so I hope they have some energy this night. And just picture it coming down in an elimination-style match to Sasha and Bayley against the Bellas and the heat that would get. Or Sasha and Bayley in there with Trish and Lita, and they kind of have a little standoff, and you pan back, and the crowd's going crazy, and you see the tag titles at ringside. It could be, a really fun, really, dramatic kind of thing if they wanted it to be. And I think just with the talent in there, it would be a big match. And instead, they could do Ronda defending her championship against Ember Moon. If they want to heel in there, it could be Ruby Riott. Look, I know Ruby Riott is not as big of a name as Nikki Bella, but Ruby Riott has impressed me since she has been called up. She has been very good. She has been one of the more impressive NXT call-ups this year. And, she's representing the Riott Squad. They've kind of kept them pretty strong as a faction. You could do Ronda and Ruby, if not Ronda and Ember, as the Raw Women's title match. And you can still have you could do Charlotte and Becky. I would have Asuka maybe issuing an open challenge. That was the idea I came up with her, for her a few weeks ago, before she did the comedy BS on TV with Naomi on Tuesday. They could debut a new face from NXT who comes out maybe to accept the challenge, Kairi Sane can defend her NXT Women's title. You got the Mae Young Classic Finals. You round out the card with a couple more matches, a Battle Royal, which, you have to do because they're promoting this show as 50 women, right? More than 50 women. You got to have some kind of Battle Royal then to get them all in. So, and there you go. Boom, you've got a full card. So there's lots of ways I think they can improve what's written down here, which may not even be legitimate. And I'd love to hear your thoughts too, on at least the top matches. How would you sort of, stack at least the top 2, 3, 4 matches on this show? And I think that 4-way that I propose for the tag titles, if they are going to debut new titles, you got to make that out to be a big deal. In fact, I would probably close the show out with that. I wouldn't even close it out. I wouldn't give preferential treatment to one brand over the other as far as their women's title. You're crowning new tag team champions for the first time in however many years. You've got star power in that match, like Sasha, Bayley, Trish, Lita, the Bellas. I think that should headline the show.